You have to give me your answer within 10 seconds.
Oh, no, that's not fair. That's not on.
It's my money.
Oh, well, it's your... Okay.
Yes, Steve, it is your money, but it's not your show, so don't try and make up new rules. Let me ask you a question. Would you speculate on whether your mum has a serious mental illness in front of millions of people?
Because I think my mum has bipolar. I remember being young and being told that, well, I mean, the first one I wrote in my book is when she came to the school in her lingerie when I was like 4 or 5 years old because she wanted to put on a shirt.
The short story of Stephen Bartlett is that he loves to quit. At 18 years old, he quit uni to start a social media marketing company called Social Chain, which IPO'd, making him a sweet 50 million. He then started Diary of a CEO, which in a couple short years amassed nearly 4 million subscribers, becoming one of the UK's biggest podcasts. He claims his podcast is a bastion of honesty and truth. However, this video will take a look at the darker side of his personality and podcast, and shed light that the image he has created may not be all that it seems. In an Instagram Q&A session, when asked whether he pays guests to come on his pod, Stephen claims that he would never, and that it goes against his and the podcast principles. Except, he does.
And then now, ever since Bartlett, a lot of them want a lot of money now because he doesn't admit it, but he's chucking a load of money at them.
Of course.
Stephen Bartlett came into the space and he bought the best fucking equipment, and he was dropping 25s on.
Not so honest there, right, Steve? Stephen once said, with self-help guru Mark Manson, that he once delved into the pickup artistry world. It may explain the strange hat that he used to wear, as in the game by Neil Strauss, A Pickup Artist's Guide, which I definitely have never read because I get loads of girls. He writes, men should do something with their appearance to set themselves apart, such as wear a silly hat. I was captivated and impressed when I started listening to Stephen. He started his podcast in 2017 as a predominantly business podcast, and considering he had built a 200 million social media company, he seemed the man to listen to. Fast forward to 2023, and the podcast has gone from a business podcast to just an average celebrity health pod. It seems Stephen just runs the pod by the whim of his interests and latest crusades. For example, Stephen said in an Insta post at the end of 2022 that he spent most Sundays learning to become a DJ, which explains the random DJs he had on the pod. One crusade of Steve's is his love of tribes. After every guest statement, he links it back to when humans lived in tribes to prove a point. A boring, general, all-encompassing point, which is hard to disprove, as humans didn't really do much when living in tribes. It seems to be his default thing to say when he can't think of anything else to say. However, he doesn't really know about how humans lived in tribes in any detail. Maybe he should get an anthropologist on the pod.
And about getting back to our tribes. And when you look at being as one that's in nature, it's one that's in a tribe, it has meaningful connections. But I've always wondered if there was, when you look at tribes and our ancestors, how they would sleep. Part of the reason why we're getting more and more depressed and socially anxious and all of these things is because we're not in our tribes, we don't have meaningful connections. You start to discover who you are, what music you're into, what interests you have. You then build a tribe around you to be the best tribe.
Not too much
stimulation.
Yeah.
If you go back to, our tribal roots versus today, like digital items and screens in our lives, loneliness, these are all callings to kind of get back to our tribe. And in fact,
right.
Being together in our tribes.
Right. Being outdoors.
In reality, Stephen isn't an anthropologist or a psychologist or a nutritionist. He's just a ruthless entrepreneur who, like Larry Ellison, is willing to win at any cost, even by cheating. But to be honest, he's not a scammer, and maybe I'm just a disgruntled fan who's sulking that his favourite podcast has changed. Let me know what you think in the comments, and thank you for watching. Like and subscribe.